Clarke, and welcome to Rejuvenation from Activist Fatigue. I'm going to share my screen right now, and you'll get oriented on what we're going to talk about today, and we're just going to jump right into it. All right. So today we are going to talk about mindfulness tools, including breathwork, physical postures, and self-reflection to re-energize when we experience fatigue. And you're going to build a toolkit to refill your cup as new challenges occur. So we're going to go through my story. We're going to talk about fatigue and the causes. We're going to identify what fills us up. We're going to do some energy boosting postures here today live. And then we're going to do some guided breathing practices to help you rejuvenate when you're tired. And we're going to end with a surprise self-care practice. So you'll find out what that is in a little bit. I have a few invitations and agreements. One is curiosity, ask questions and be open to trying new things. If you have questions about the specific practices we're doing in the moment, feel free to pop those in the chat, and the organizers here will kind of interrupt me. I invite you to interrupt me if it's about the practices that we're doing live, but there's also going to be time at the end for Q&A overall. I invite you to practice active listening. That means be present. Notice how the discussion and the practices are affecting you emotionally and physically. So, who is Zee Clarke? Who are you speaking with today? Well, I am a mindfulness and breathwork teacher. I am also a violinist. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., and I just wanted to share these photos of what little me looked like growing up in Washington, D.C. And I invite you to look at the innocence in my eyes, in this little girl's eyes, okay? Just look at those eyes. And the reason I invite you to do that is because I want to share with you what my growing up life was like. Washington, D.C., when I was growing up, was the murder capital of America. And due to systemic racism and the resulting poverty, there was a lot of violence, and crack was a thing then. And I remember my first drive-by shooting, I was 7 years old. I remember my last drive-by shooting, I was 17 years old. Okay, and so imagine that as a growing up home environment. And this is where I went to school. I went to a private school in an affluent suburb. I was able to get a scholarship. And during that time, I was usually the only Black person in my class. I was treated not so great as a result of that. I went to Harvard for my undergrad, studied economics. I went back to Harvard to get my MBA as well. And then I spent over 20 years leading teams at Fortune 500 companies, and spent a lot of time in Silicon Valley working in the tech industry, where usually I was the only Black person. Sometimes in Silicon Valley, just the only woman in the room as well. And that came with a lot of microaggressions and a lot of challenges. A study shows that 69% of Black women professionals felt that they had to work harder to progress in their organization, compared to 16% of white women. And so what that meant is I was constantly feeling like I needed to prove that I deserved to be there. I was working nights, I was working weekends, and ultimately that led to burnout. It started to affect my physical health, my mental health, and ultimately my doctors told me, well, something's got to change. So I went to India. I joke that I did the Black girl version of Eat, Pray, Love. I did yoga, did my yoga teacher training there actually. I became a sound healer with Tibetan singing bowls, and I still do sound healing today. I lead monthly virtual sound baths, which you're welcome to join last Tuesday of every month. I got deeper into my meditation practice, and also one of my most favorite things that I learned was breath work, because it's free. You could do it anytime, anywhere, and it was the biggest surprise for me about how powerful this practice can be, and we're gonna do some live breathing practices here tonight. But the biggest thing that I learned was that this became the new yoga studio. What do I mean? I mean, when I would experience challenges at work, I would find that the breathing practices that I learned in India, that the mindfulness practices that I learned in India were much more impactful outside of the yoga studio and these classes, and more so in the context of everyday life when hard stuff happened. So I came back from over 2 years of traveling and learning holistic healing tools, and I had to get a job because finances are real. But this was my life outside of work. And I just want to point out what is taking up the majority of the photo here. That's the riot police. You see, I went to play violin at a violin vigil for a man named Elijah McClain, a 23-year-old black man violinist who was walking home from the store unarmed when someone called the police and said that he looked suspicious. He didn't live to see another day. I'm not going to go into the details, but if you don't know of him, look up Elijah McClain and you'll see what they did to him. Every police shooting of an unarmed black person was linked to worse mental health for the entire black population in the state where that shooting occurred for the next 3 months. That's a Harvard School of Public Health study. Now here's the thing, even if I don't live in that state, I also am affected. Black people are 9 times more likely for people to act as if they're afraid of you, 7 times more likely to receive worse service at restaurants and stores, and 5 times more likely for others to act as if you aren't smart. Now, medical research shows that racism causes chronic stress. And let's talk about the symptoms of chronic stress. High blood pressure. Black people have higher rates of high blood pressure. Weakened immune system. Black people were disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. Diabetes, anxiety and depression, accelerated aging, headaches, obesity, and what we're talking about today is fatigue. And so while the symptoms of your stress might be different, you still might experience, or not the symptoms, the causes of your stress might be different. You still might experience these symptoms. And today we're going to talk about fatigue. But I want to share with you that I wrote a book because I was tired of hearing I can't breathe. And so I wrote a book which came out recently called Black People Breathe. And every chapter is something that happens to Black people. Shopping while Black, for example, where I share a story of when somebody called the police on me and said that I stole deli meat at a grocery store and I'm a vegan. So hours and hours of the police harassing me and the breathing practices that I did, because if I didn't do them, I would have told them what I thought, and I don't know if I would have lived another day, right? Because I couldn't give them any reason to harm me. And so this book, every chapter is something that happens to Black people. For Black people and people of color, you'll learn tools to reduce your stress levels when you experience microaggressions and racism. You'll learn tools to lower your blood pressure despite the racism that you experience so that you can be more productive in your life. And now you might wonder, well, what if I'm not Black? Is this book for me? Well, for allies, this is an opportunity to educate yourself on the realities in this country, and the practices that I share in Black People Breathe, you can use in your everyday life, whether it's anxiety, imposter syndrome, and what we're going to talk about today, fatigue. So, what is fatigue? Most of us believe fatigue, well, that's when I'm tired, when I'm sleepy, right? But there are more symptoms to fatigue than you might be aware of. First of all, in the body, maybe it's chronic tiredness, right? Maybe it's headaches, sore, aching muscles, immune system also, slowed reflexes, appetite loss. All of these could be a result of fatigue. But also, it impacts the mind as well. Impaired decision-making and judgment, moodiness. Have you noticed that when you're tired, you might snap at people? Irritability, poor concentration. You might even just have bad memory at that moment, short-term memory. You might not be motivated. And in worst case scenarios, when you are exhausted, well, then you might even start hallucinating. I don't know if that's happened to any of you. It's definitely happened to me. So, what causes fatigue? Well, maybe it's just a lot of work that you have to do. Maybe it's lack of work-life balance. Maybe it's the headlines. Maybe, it's like you're constantly seeing things in the news and that makes you exhausted. Maybe it's the pace of change. You are fighting for something and it's just not happening fast enough. So here's a question for you. What have been the biggest causes of fatigue for you in the last 12 months? I invite you to get your phone out, scan the QR code, or go to slido.com and just tell us, share. What have been the biggest causes of fatigue for you in the last 12 months? Maybe it's the pace of change. Maybe it's a lack of work-life balance. Maybe it's the news. And so if you can go to slido.com and enter this code or scan that QR code and let's see, why don't you share? Is it emotional labor and just all that you have to deal with in what you're fighting for? Is it the pressure to achieve results because you are so passionate about what you're working on and you really want to see it now? Or maybe it's something else completely, and maybe it's another. But I'm curious here, and we have a few votes here. So emotional labor and upsetting news headlines are kind of tied in number one right now still. And so it seems like, it's a lot of things. Look at this. And the reason I want you to watch these results live is that I want you to know that you are not alone. Look, at this point, almost 70% of you say emotional labor is causing the most fatigue. Well, it's kind of changing by the minute, isn't it? But you can see here that you are not alone in things that are causing you to be tired. Because sometimes when we're just going so fast and doing so much, it's like it feels isolating. So know that you are not alone. Looks like upsetting news headlines and emotional labor are now number one. And the pressure to achieve results are number two. So let's talk about mindfulness because, the first step to feeling better is to just recognize what is happening, right? And recognize both how you're feeling now, but also what you can do to feel better. So the definition of mindfulness I share in my book, Black People Breathe, is intentionally focusing your attention on what is happening in the present moment with curiosity and without judgment. All right? Focusing your attention on what is happening in the present moment with curiosity and without judgment. And so one of the things that you can do when you are tired is to identify, what fills you up? So that in the moment when you can say, oh, you know what, I'm tired right now, you can be like, oh, this is what I can do right now to feel better. So I want to do a quick exercise with you all right now, which is I invite you to get a journal out, so a piece of paper, a pen, or you can just open up a window, on your computer. And I invite you, we're going to spend 2 minutes right now answering this question or finishing the sentence, I feel restored when. I feel restored when. And so I'm going to play some music and I invite you to just get a journal and make a list as long as possible. I feel restored when. I'm going to put it in the chat. And just what are all the things? We're going to do 2 minutes right now and make the list as long as possible, okay? Think about all the times, the things that make you feel good. And if you can't think of anything, when was the last time you felt amazing? And what caused you to feel amazing? So I'm just going to pause here. 2 minutes. I feel restored when. And make your list as long as possible. About 40 more seconds. right. Now I see someone's already, Bridget's getting bonus points for putting it in the chat already. And I see, so I invite you all now to put it in the chat. Put what are a couple things? You don't have to put your whole list, but maybe just a couple things that stood out to you that help you to feel restored. And I'm going to start with Bridget says, getting sleep, hanging out with friends, talking to my mom, listening to music, driving with pretty scenery. Georgina says laughing. Hannah says riding my bike or hiking, dancing, swim in the sea. Yes, all of these are amazing. Seeing the Milky Way, me too, because it reminds you of what's kind of bigger than us. Sharing music and art. Lois says drinking a cup of tea, walking in nature, having a laugh. Yes, now I want eating. We have eating, the sun, trying something new, and resting, running, napping, feeling the sun on my skin. This sun has come up a couple times. I want to share with you a practice. Just side note, it's called sunning. Literally, you go outside in the middle of the day, you put a timer on your phone for 2 minutes, and you just sit down and just let the sun shine upon you if the weather allows that to be the case. So just wanted to share that. But let me tell you why this is so important. Okay, a long time ago, I was doing my corporate job, and I had a flight from San Francisco to LA. Now, if anybody's been on that flight, it's a very short flight. And I had a lot of data that I needed to analyze, and so I needed to do it before I landed. So I had my computer out in the very short amount of time that you have to actually have a computer out on such a short flight. And I apparently, I was just, grinding, and I had my headphones in. What does headphones mean on a plane? Don't talk to me, right? Okay, right? Very clear. It's a clear message. Everybody knows it. Well, this guy taps me on the shoulder, okay? Taps me on the shoulder. So and mind you, I'm like this. I'm like working. I remove my headphones, and he said, "Hey, have you ever thought about slowing down?" And I was like, I was like, mind your business. You know what I mean? I was like, this man does not even know me. But thinking back, okay, what must I have looked like for a complete stranger to tell me that I needed to slow down? All right. Now, what I needed to do during that time was finish the sentence, "I feel restored when," and do some of those things. So the reason I invite you to make this list is so that you don't get to that point where a complete stranger tells you that you need to slow down. Now, here's the thing. Look at your list, the long list that you wrote, and maybe you might want to add to it. Maybe you saw some suggestions from our friends here, and you're like, "Oh, I should add that one. I want to add sun to my list," for example. Okay. Look at your list, identify one thing that you can do in the next week. So, for example, sometimes you can't go to the beach, let's say that was on your list because maybe you don't live near a beach, but maybe there's something that you can do the next week. So identify one thing that you can do in the next week. Okay, pause, just think about it. All right. Now, here's the thing. You gotta actually do it. How? Everybody, right now, open up your calendar. Open up your calendar right now. Open up the calendar, or if you're a physical calendar person, open it up and identify a day and a time that you can do that thing, okay? A day and a time. Is it next Tuesday at 10 a.m.? Is it on Saturday at 4 p.m.? What is it for you? And create a calendar invite to do that thing, all right? Right now. And when you've done it, I invite you to put in the chat, "Done." Okay? You are holding ourselves accountable to taking care of ourselves because we often just put everybody else first. It might be work, it might be our family, it just, people, friends ask for favors, and then we don't prioritize ourselves. I got one done, but we're not going to move on until people have held themselves accountable here. Okay, we got a couple done. All right, they're rolling in. Now, here are bonus points if you can make it a recurring calendar invite. What I mean is every Tuesday at 4 p.m. to make sure that happens. So if you want bonus points, you can do that. We got a bunch of dones in there, so I like it. Now, Here's the thing. Yes, Native Roots Network, you do get a cookie, a virtual cookie for making it recurring. Now, here's the thing, you all. Now, it's going to pop up, right? It's going to pop up next Tuesday at 3 p.m. or whatever your time is. And then when it pops up, you're going to be like, but I need to finish this thing. Or, but so-and-so just called me and I can't do that anymore. I have a, mantra that I like. And it is this: today I choose me. Okay, today I choose me, right? Because here's the thing, on a plane, when they always say, put your mask on first before you help someone else. Because the thing is that if you don't do that, you ultimately are gonna end up with complete burnout like me, and then your doctors are gonna tell you, because it's gonna start to affect your physical health, and you do not wanna get to that point. So when it pops up, remember, today I choose me. All right. The next thing that we're going to do now, moving on, is energy boosting postures that you can do at your desk. Because a lot of people are like, well, I can't go to a yoga class, right? And, I don't have time for that, or I'm not a yoga person, and I'm not telling you to do yoga. I'm going to just share with you 4 things that you can do at your desk or like in your office or wherever you work that can help boost your energy. And we're going to do them together, energy boosting postures that you can do at your desk. The first thing is when you are tired, and this is for those that are able-bodied, so please sit this one out if your body does not allow you to do this. But if it does, 5 jumping jacks right now. If you're in a place that you can do it, we're going to do it together, okay? 5 jumping jacks. Stand up, and we're going to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and sit down. I want to point out, first of all, if you did it, how do you feel? Just take a moment. How did that feel? And I want to point out, it didn't take that long, okay? So if you're tired, if you're having a day, you're exhausted, 5 jumping jacks, 5 jumping jacks. We got love jumping jacks. It felt fun, yes, okay. And it's something that we don't do that often. It's like from gym class in 5th grade or something, Okay. The next thing that I want to share with you is inspired by yoga, a seated cat-cow. And this is good for stress relief and spine flexibility because, when we're exhausted, they say the issues are in the tissues, right? What does that mean? Something happens and then it gets stored in your lower back. Or maybe, you feel like you got punched in the stomach or whatever. And so anyway, our back holds a lot of stress. And so what we're going to do, and I invite you to do this with me, is I invite you to have goalpost arms, so 90-degree angle, okay? You're going to inhale through your nose, and you're going to exhale, and you're going to bring your elbows together and curl down. You curl your spine down. So you're going to inhale up, goalpost arms, and then exhale down, curling your spine. Inhale up, exhale down. 2 more, inhale up, exhale down. 1 more, inhale up, exhale down. And then come back up and just take a moment and notice how you feel. I definitely was feeling it. My lower back is like, ooh, hello. Okay. All right, I have 2 more physical postures that you can do at your desk. The next one is seated triangle, okay? And this stretches your side body because sometimes the stuff just gets stored there. So I invite you to raise up your right arm to the sky, inhaling, and then exhale and reach your left hand down to the ground. You're not gonna get there. I mean, you might, I don't. And we're just gonna be here for 5. Breathing deeply. 4, reaching your top arm up to the sky. 3, reaching your bottom arm down even more. 2, 1, and come back up. Back to center. Now you know what we're gonna do? The other side. All right, inhale your left arm up to the sky. And then exhale and reach your right hand down to the floor as far as you can. And we're gonna be here for 5, reaching your top arm up even more. 3, reaching your bottom arm down even more. 2, Where are you feeling this in the body? 1, and come back to center. Nice job. All right. The last one that we're going to do, I call it the hand butterfly. Other people might call it something else, but this also gives me a little boost, all right? And so we're gonna do it together. Back to goalpost arms here, right? 90-degree angles. And take a deep breath in. And when you exhale, you're gonna bring your palms and your elbows together like this. And we're gonna exhale through your nose. And then inhale through your nose, open, exhale, close. All right, now we're gonna do it fast. Inhale, open, exhale, close. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Take a moment and notice how you feel. We're gonna do one more round of that one just because we built it up. You have to figure out what's going on here. What's she doing? Okay, we're gonna do another round. Ready? Goalpost arms. All right. We're gonna breathe in and out through the nose so that your breath can be audible. All right. Inhale, and then exhale. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Just take a moment and notice how you feel. We got in the chat, felt great in the shoulders. My heart is warm, but it builds up a little heat, gets that energy moving. Okay, all right. Now we're gonna do some breathing practices. And that one was a little preview of a breathing practice that also involves the arms. It is still movement. And it's called the bellows breath. Bellows breath. And Georgina says she's lightheaded, low key. You know, sometimes this, and the one that we're about to do also might make you feel a little bit lightheaded, but know that it's like totally normal. You're moving energy around. And the times that you would do this are when you're like exhausted, because it just like, whew, wakes you up. This one that we're about to do, I promise, feels better than coffee. And so, you know those moments after lunch when you're like, I can't, I don't want to do anything. You know, you're a little full, you're really slow. The bellows breath is great to boost your energy. All right, and so the way it works, I'm gonna have to actually move this so that you can see, is you're going to start with your loose fists at your shoulders, all right? And you're gonna inhale and shoot your arms up to the sky. And then you're gonna exhale and bring them down. Inhale up, exhale down. We're gonna breathe in and out through the nose, and the breath is gonna be audible. All right, so we're gonna do it fast now, okay? 10, and go. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale, exhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. All right, take a moment, notice how you feel. We're gonna do one more round. It's inhale up, exhale down. Okay, loose fists at the shoulders, and let's go. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. And just take a moment and notice how you feel. When you do this, you should take rests in between the rounds. All right? Okay, so the next breathing practice, if that's like the energy boosting, this one is good for focus and concentration. So if you're tired and your brain, you remember we talked about all the mental health, not mental health, but like the mental impacts, like you can't focus, you can't concentrate when you're tired. This one is called box breathing. It's used from everyone from Navy SEALs to nurses. It heightens performance and concentration. It infuses the body with oxygen, which reduces stress, helps with your cardiovascular function. It's also known to help with anxiety, depression, and pain management. Box breathing. You inhale for a count of 4. You hold your breath for a count of 4. You exhale for a count of 4, and you hold your breath for a count of 4. So it's called box breathing because it's 4, 4, 4, 4. We're going to breathe in and out through the nose. And this one rejuvenates the nervous system. Okay, so we're going to do it together. I invite you to sit up straight, the 2 feet on the floor, and shoulders back and down. We're going to breathe in and out through the nose. And let's go. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 more times. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Last time. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. And just take a moment and notice how you feel. So during those moments when you're just like, I can't focus, I can't concentrate, I have this thing to do, just try box breathing. Count of 4, right? Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold to the bottom for 4. Okay. And by the way, I have guided breathing practices on my YouTube channel. So if you look up Zee Clarke on YouTube, or you go to my website, I have something called resources, and I have guided breathing practices. So if you're like, what did she say to do? You can always just go back to that. Okay. So the next thing, when you're exhausted, when you're experiencing fatigue, one thing that can be very rejuvenating is a massage. Now, massages can be expensive. Massages, you got to make an appointment. It's like a whole thing. But did you know that you can give yourself a massage? Okay. That is our surprise. That is our surprise self-care practice. We are about to get a massage, and you're going to play a very active role in this massage right now. So I'm going to play some music just so that we can get in the vibe. And I invite you right now to just take an exhale. Deep breath in. Exhale it out. And now what we're going to do is we're going to place our thumbs at our temples. And I like to use these 2 fingers, but you can decide whether you want to use 1 or 2. And we're going to start with our hairline, starting in the middle. And we're just going to trace our hairline from the middle down to the sides. We're going to start in the middle and go down the sides. And I invite you to take deep breaths as you do this and play with the pressure. Maybe you want it harder, maybe you want it softer, but do what feels good to you. And make sure you're breathing as you do this. And now we're going to go to our eyebrows. So we're going to start in our inner eyebrow right here. And we're going to just trace our eyebrows. We're going to trace our eyebrows. Starting from the middle and going outwards towards the sides. We often hold a lot of tension in our faces. So when we're exhausted, we just need some rejuvenation. This can be very rejuvenating. The next thing that we're going to do after our eyebrows is our temples. So find your temples and just start making circles. Are you still breathing? Make sure you're taking deep breaths and really feel what this feels like, And again, play with the pressure. Do what feels good to you. That's also mindfulness. It's just paying attention. Right now, what do you need? And if you've been going in one direction with the circles, I invite you to switch directions now. Taking deep breaths. And now we're going to go underneath the eyes. So we're going to start in the towards the center and just trace that bone that goes underneath your eyes. Starting from the center and trace the bone outwards. Breathing. And now we're gonna do the cheekbones. So we're gonna start above the nostrils and we're gonna trace the cheekbone. So a little lower than we were before. Tracing the cheekbone. Yeah. Really feeling what this feels like. Receive. Allow yourself to receive, especially, as an activist, you're giving a lot, and just taking a moment to give to yourself and to receive. From here, we're gonna go to the top of the jaw. So that muscle that helps with chewing, like right there? We're gonna just make circles, that muscle that's at the top of your jaw. Just make circles there. And if you're a deep tissue person, I am, using your palms to make circles there can also just get it even deeper. So it depends on how hard you want it. You might, people are different with what they want. So maybe your fingers, maybe your palms, but make circles and make sure that you're still breathing. And then switch directions if you haven't already. And now we're gonna go to below the cheekbone. So I invite you to take 4 fingers and start underneath the cheekbone. And then we're gonna just trace slowly towards our chin down. So you're gonna start below the cheekbone and you're gonna go down. Again, playing with the pressure. Doing what feels good. Breathing. And now we're gonna go to our ears. And so I invite you to get to the top of your ears and just pull up gently. Top of your ears and just pull upward gently. And then we're gonna go to the middle of our ears and pull out. Pull out. Just gently. Just gently. And then we're gonna go to the bottom of our ears and we're gonna pull down just a little bit, just gently downwards from the bottom. And the last, second to last thing we're gonna do here is we're going to do a scalp massage. So I invite you to start at the hairline with your fingers and then go deeper. And now imagine, have you ever gotten, you get your hair cut and you get that shampoo and then the person does the best shampoo massage you've ever gotten, and you're like, oh my goodness, I just want to stay here forever. That's what you're giving yourself right now, that. So use mindfulness to find where does it feel amazing, which part of your scalp. Maybe you want to go to the back, maybe it's the sides, but you're gonna have a tender spot or two. Find those, be gentle or go deep, but do what feels good to you. Where does it feel good? You might want to do small circles. You might want to go big. But like feel, oh, where does that feel amazing? And just stay there. Allow yourself to receive it. And then what we're gonna do last is we're just gonna sweep our face. So from the hairline, we're just gonna come down with your fingers all the way down to your chin. And again, starting from the top, from your hairline, and just gently sweep down. Remember to keep breathing. 3 more times here, really showing yourself some love. One last time. And then take a deep inhalation. Hold it at the top for 3, 2, 1. Exhale it out. And thank yourself for this experience. And I want you to know that you can do this at any moment. And again, we're often like, oh, I don't have time. But that didn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes. So at any moment, you can give yourself this beautiful gift whenever you are exhausted. And then maybe you might mess up your hair like I just did, but you feel good, right? You feel good. So I want to just do a little bit of a recap of what we did today. This is your rejuvenation toolkit. We started with I feel restored when. I feel restored when. You have that list. We chose one thing and we put it on your calendar. Remember, when it pops up, today I choose me. Now here's the thing. There might be other things on there that you didn't put on your calendar, but now you have a list. So in the moments when you are exhausted, in the moments when you're like, I'm having a day, that's when you go to your list and it's like choose your own adventure. Which of these things am I like this? This is what I want to do right now. So find that list. Make sure you put it somewhere where you know where it is. Maybe it's on your computer. Maybe it's on your refrigerator. Maybe it's in your bathroom mirror. But it's always accessible because it's in our times when we are so exhausted, when we're having the worst days, that those ideas won't pop into our minds. So it's nice to just have a really quick place to go. We did breathing practices. We did that bellows breath, which was when we go, you know, that one. I also want to share with you that one, something you don't do in front of people. You know, it's like you're tired, you find yourself a private place, you get your quick coffee fix sort of thing from your breathing technique, and then you feel better. Now, that's when you need that boost of energy. But when you're just like, I need to focus, I need to concentrate, that's when you can do box breathing. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. And a reminder, I have guided breathing practices that you can find these at any moment. ZeeClarke.com or my YouTube channel. We also did energy boosting postures, right? We did those jumping jacks. You're tired. You have that thing after lunch where you're just like, I don't want to do anything. Just get up. 5 jumping jacks. Again, I like to do these when nobody's looking at me and go somewhere private. Seated cat-cow. That was this one where we had our goalpost arms and then we curved our spine down and then we inhaled up. That's one that you can do. It's good for when you have a lot of stress in your spine. We did the seated triangle, which was when we lifted one arm up and reached the other one down, right? That one, seated triangle. And then lastly, we did the hand butterfly. That was also goalpost arms. I was opening and closing with the breath. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So those are your energy boosting postures. And lastly, we did a self-massage. Again, all of these things, you don't need to do all of them at once. This is like your Chinese menu, right? This is your, at any moment you're tired, which of these things could you use right now? Because literally something as simple as 1 minute or 5 minutes of any of these can change the course of your day. All right, I want to remind you of a couple things. One, my book, Black People Breathe, is going to be for allies a wonderful opportunity for you to get exposure to what some of the realities in this country, but also the practices that I just shared with you. There are many more. I believe that the breath is like medicine. Just like you take Advil when you have a headache, just like you take antihistamines when you have allergies, there's a different breathing practice that you can do based on how you're feeling. Today, we focused on fatigue, but there's a breathing practice for anxiety. There is one for when you're frustrated. There's one for when you are angry. And so while I share all of these practices in the context of, the challenges I faced in my life, the final chapter of this book is the toolkit, which is like, okay, right now I'm feeling frustrated. And then it says, okay, go to page 155 or whatever it might be. Also on my website, on zeeclarke.com, there is a resources page, and I have a guided practice video there based on how you're feeling. So you can just go there. All of those and many more on my YouTube channel. And also I'm at Zee Clarke Breathes on social media, on TikTok and on Instagram. So with that, I would love to just offer some time for questions or comments, So, if there are challenges that you've had with fatigue, or if there are particular practices that you had questions about, this is an opportunity now where you can ask them in the chat, or it could just be about anything that I talked about earlier in my life or what have you, challenges that Black people face. This is an opportunity to ask any questions about self-care or anything that you want. So you can either put them in the chat or you can come off of mute if you'd like. Thoughts? We have beautiful session. You are welcome. Bridget says, you mentioned a monthly Zoom. Could I please have more info on that? Yes. So I offer so I'm a sound healer with Tibetan singing bowls. And some of you might not know what sound baths are or what Tibetan singing bowls are. And so sound healing is a practice of immersing yourself in the vibrations of sounds. And a common one people use there are the crystal bowls. You might have seen people with these white crystal bowls of different sizes. The ones that I work with that I learned in India are Tibetan singing bowls. These are metal. They're made of 7 metals. Each metal is for a different chakra. And they are said to balance the chakra system. The sounds of Tibetan singing bowls, they say, are the sound of the universe manifesting. The sound of Om. My Tibetan singing bowls were made by hand by Tibetan monks. And as they were making them, it took a long time to make them, they were chanting prayers of healing to infuse healing powers into these bowls. Now, there's how do I put this? I'm from both worlds. What does that mean? Look, I went to Harvard for college and business school, and I'm an analytical person. And so I also embrace science. And so I love the union of the two. Sound healing has been used for thousands of years, but the West is only now catching up to these practices. So recently, there have been many studies on sound healing that shows that it lowers your blood pressure, that it reduces anxiety, depression, strengthens your immune system. It's even, they say, it can be an endogenous painkiller, right? So rather than taking painkillers, and in fact, it's used at the Cornell Department of Oncology for cancer patients, sound healing. So that's what that is. If you go to zeeclarke.com, you can click on sound, and there you can register for my monthly sound bath. It's usually the last Tuesday of every month. The next one's actually next week, Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. So I welcome you to join every month whenever, whenever it appeals to you and you need some stress relief. I see something in the chat. What would you suggest for more extended / long-term resolves for overall fatigue? Okay, well, first I just want to preface my answer with, I am not a doctor. So I say this to say that if you are experiencing chronic fatigue, that perhaps it might be a medical condition that I will be the first to say I am not qualified to assess. So start there. I'd say if it's a chronic thing, I invite you to go to a doctor, get checked out. There are lots of autoimmune things that people have no idea about. I experienced chronic fatigue in a really rough way, found out I had Lyme disease, right, many years ago. So who knows what it can be. But I also will say morning and evening routines can be very powerful. So what do I mean? I mean simple things like going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time can be very, very powerful. Also thinking about, well, what are the last things that you do in the evening before you go to bed? So screen time is not going to help with sleep because you basically, if you're tired, you're not getting the rest that you need, right? And so things like eliminating screen time right before you go to sleep. Also, things like reading can be helpful before you go to bed. Think gratitude lists, like just thinking about, well, what can make you feel good before you go to sleep, and to do those things before you go to bed. And similarly in the morning to have routines, whether that's 5 minutes of meditation can be helpful. The box breathing that I mentioned, box breathing is very helpful to do on a regular basis. So morning and evening routines. I also might look at diet. So just thinking about that, and as I said, I'm not going to tell you that I'm a doctor and what you need to do, but I would just look into your routines and some of your habits if you're experiencing chronic fatigue. All right. What else in the chat? Is it fair to characterize your techniques as redirecting energies into harmonious flows rather than crushing paralysis? Well, I don't know about the crushing paralysis piece, but I will say yes, it is redirecting energies, because what happens when we're tired, energy gets stuck in places, and then we feel like we can't get up, kind of that inertia, right? What happens, what's the phrase? Something in motion, an object in motion stays in motion, an object at rest stays in rest, sort of thing. And so these techniques that I'm sharing with you, they allow a little bit of that movement of the energy to change it up. And if not, how would you describe the purpose function of what you teach? Yes, so all of the breathing practices that I teach are based in traditional yoga pranayama for the most part. There's some nuances based on, I've studied a lot of different traditions, but it's based in the yoga tradition, and particularly pranayama tools, which is a lot of breathing, and or yoga, right? The postures that you can do at your desk are really based in yoga. Now, how do they work? Well, it depends on kind of what you believe in. I talked about the chakra system. The chakra system in the Indian, in the Hindu tradition in India, developed, many thousands of years ago. And so it allows a balancing of the chakras. Now, examples of chakras, in case you're not familiar with the chakras, you have the heart chakra, which is from where you give and receive love. You have the solar plexus chakra, which is kind of in your belly area, and that's your sense of like willpower and gung-ho-ness, right? You have your sacral chakra, which is in the pelvic region, which is the source of your creativity, but also, your sexuality. And so I bring all these up to say, and there are 7 chakras, I'm not going to go through each of them, is that often we have blockages in our chakras. And so a lot of these, whether it's a physical posture or a breathing practice, can bring balance to the chakras where we might be imbalanced. So that is kind of one explanation of what I do. But also, yes, redirecting the energies. In the Chinese tradition, they'll talk about qi, right? And also like acupuncture, and you have these pressure points, right? But it's moving energy around. So yes, energy, but I don't know, crushing paralysis sounds a little, I wouldn't use those words. What else? Let me see if there's any others. I noticed from your site you talk about helping employees respond to fatigue, but are you invited by companies to help them more generally become proactive with creating cultures of self-care? The answer is yes. So I work with companies to train their employees on a number of topics. Self-care is one of them. Sometimes I actually give my sound baths with the Tibetan singing bowls to companies, but also I teach a course on mindfulness and self-care. I teach the one we just did, the rejuvenation from fatigue, but I have over 25 workshops. And if you're interested in bringing me into your company, you can fill out the contact us form on my website on zeeclarke.com, and I'm happy to share more. I also teach how some of these practices can be helpful in the context of professional development. So for example, mindfulness around giving feedback, mindfulness around receiving feedback, building up the courage to ask for promotions, for raises, things like that. Because mindfulness and breathing can be very powerful, as I mentioned, in the context of everyday life and all the things that we're doing, both at work, but also, on your drive home when you're stuck in traffic, right? When you get that frustrated moment. So, yes, I do work with companies. And yeah, any other questions, final questions in our last few minutes together? Okay, well, if not, I have a final practice that I would like to share with all of you this evening. In the mindfulness world, it's called metta, also known as loving kindness. And so it'll just take a minute, but I invite you to take a hand, place it on your heart, close your eyes if you feel comfortable, and repeat this in your mind's eye. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. Now, holding in your heart someone that you love, someone that you love. May they be happy. May they be healthy. May they live with ease. And now holding in your hearts everyone here with us right now. May we be happy. May we be healthy. May we live with ease. And now holding in your hearts all activists all over the world, may we be happy. May we be healthy. May we live with ease. And now holding in your hearts all beings, may we be happy. May we be healthy. May we live with ease. Take one last deep breath together now. Exhale it out. Bringing your hands down. Slowly flutter your eyes open and welcome back. I hope that you can feel rejuvenated now and the next time that you experience fatigue, so that we all can bring our best selves to the work that we do to make this world a better place. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful week. Bye, everyone.